Today on the livecast, we look at 2020 in review. Well, hello and welcome to the livecast. My name is Paul Feasy, and as ever, I'm joined by Glen Scrivener.
Hello, Paul. Here we are in the studio.
Yeah, we're all here, which is good.
Still got our Christmas on.
Yeah. Well, we're in the festive season now.
I thought I'd match you for my jumper.
Yes.
Yeah. Got Darth, so tis the season when you've got Darth Vader.
What does it say? I find your lack of cheer disturbing.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I've gone for the Die Hard theme.
I have a machine gun.
Which is the classic Christmas movie of all time, as we know.
This is brilliant.
Benefits of a classical education.
Yes. And Alexander saw the lands he lost. Well, he had no more lands to conquer. Yeah, Alan Rickman, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd do 2020 in review.
Yep.
Or in the rear view. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be nice to see the back of 2020
in the rear view.
I have a feeling that what's coming up, it's not going to be much better though for the foreseeable future. So.
Have you seen there's a cartoon and it's got this little wave called COVID, and there's like a camera on it and a reporter pointing to the little wave, and then behind the wave called COVID is a massive tidal wave called poverty. And it's like, that's coming.
Oh, brilliant.
So get ready.
Oh, well.
Get ready for 2021.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, so I think we've got so much to talk about. We might need to do this in 2 episodes.
Right.
So
it's been a busy year.
It really, a few things have happened.
Yeah, one or two.
Anyone noticed? But actually, way back in January, can you remember January? What were you looking forward to?
I don't even remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, just yesterday when we were talking about some clips we might want to look at, there was a lot of videos where I just thought, was that this year? Like, it feels like another lifetime ago. I don't remember life before lockdown.
We look a lot younger in some of these videos.
It's aged us terribly.
Have you seen those before and after of like Barack Obama, like in 2008 and in 2016?
Yeah. He's like a kind of fresh-faced young man,
Tony
black
Blair.
hair. And
Tony Blair is just fresh out of prep school.
Sort of withered old man, grey in the hair.
That's everybody. That's everybody in 2020. So we thought we'd do like up until June, and then we'll have another go from July to the end. But one thing to begin with, we launched a video that was several years in the making called "I Gave My Life to Jesus," which is a poem that I delivered to a youth conference. Might have been back in 2016 or something. In which I kind of tell my story as a teenager, and it did really well at the youth conference, and so we refilmed it and we released it in January. Let's have a look at some of the opening of "I Gave My Life to Jesus." There's young Glen.
I was going to say, you've aged. You really have aged, haven't you?
Have aged.
I gave my life to Jesus about 1,000 times at teenage shrines of rare experience. They'd blare delirious, then dare obedience. I'd swear allegiance, soul bared and serious, each prayer more daring than the previous. On stage the preacher saw we staunch hardcore flock to the fore to knock, knock, knock on heaven's door. He claimed salvations like he was keeping score, yet none was sure but he. None doubted more than me. So I prayed again to firm cement it, making sure I really meant it. Vowed my life to be amended, willed my all to dust descended, gave my heart to be expended. Then when all my prayers were ended, it's nothing but myself lamented. Oh, I pretended all was mended and extended lifted hands, but within I could not understand what more could he demand.
Seem to resonate with quite a few people, that experience. Is that something that you resonate with, the whole give your life to Jesus thing?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, and it's that thing, isn't it, of this year I gave my life to Jesus at camp for the 4th time. You know, like
last Christmas I gave him my heart, but the very next year I had to do it again.
I mean, I think it's something that definitely happens, isn't it? That there's this sense of people. You know, I remember going to some things, and you know, there were people kids I knew, and you know, someone would say, "We're going to do this prayer." I'm thinking, I can see this kid praying the prayer. I'm like, but I know they're a Christian, right? Like, you know. I mean, in one sense, you never know. I suppose. But
always be suspicious. I'm certainly not sure about you.
I was going to say.
The jury is out. And don't read the Twitter comments because some people are very sure.
Oh yeah, we know where you're going. Like, you won't need that jumper. It's been an interesting few days on Twitter for Glenn.
Yeah.
But what are we talking about? It's all gone now.
So, like the kid who was praying.
Yeah. And I've even had leaders say, and if you've prayed this before, you don't need to pray again, this same prayer. But, I think people do fall into that trap, don't they? Of kind of, I've got to keep praying this same prayer and just in case.
Evangelists have a bit of a vested interest in just saying to people, and you might have prayed it before, but why don't you just ink it in?
Oh, yeah. You know? Maybe you want to echo these words.
You might want to, and then in your prayer letter at the end of the week, you can say, 5 people prayed to receive Jesus, despite the fact that this is the 13th time that this kid has prayed the prayer.
Prayed the prayer.
And if people want to catch up on more about the meaning of the prayer, I did a podcast with Cooper and Carey Have Words. So James Carey and Barry Cooper got me on to talk about the prayer and whether it's become a new sacrament in evangelical.
The interesting thing is, I vaguely remember. On the YouTube, I think it was on the YouTube version of that video, someone underneath saying don't listen to this man. You need to give your life to Jesus. Everybody needs Jesus. I'm like, I don't think you've understood the concept of the video. You're not saying you don't need Jesus.
No, definitely need Jesus.
But it's this kind of strange
Who is the
evangelical
great
thing that's
benefactor,
grown up.
though? You need Jesus, right? He doesn't need you. That's one of the big problems with the whole. Would you like my life? Oh yes, please. Thanks, Glenn.
Really, this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus doesn't need my life.
That's very true. I need his life. Yeah.
And that's the backwards thing that we've got, this idea that, and so we need to receive Christ. And the point of the video is, you need to receive Christ and pour out yourself to the world. I'm totally on board with that. And you absolutely need Jesus, but he doesn't need you.
Very true. I think that's something people that idea of receiving Jesus.
Right.
I think people just struggle with it because there's a kind of what do I need to do?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pray the prayer.
Pray the prayer. I've already prayed it.
Do it again. Wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt. But it's I got married, so I don't know what to do now. You could have the wedding again. No thanks.
That's a great analogy. When you can do it like that.
No thanks. I mean, maybe there's a second honeymoon that you have on your 20th anniversary or something.
Can you imagine if you said to Emma, I know last year, I know we got married, but I'm just not sure whether it really was legit. So
I really want to ink it in.
Yes.
And then she'd be like, "You signed it in pencil? Got to keep your options open, Emma. Come on. It's a modern world. Come on." So I gave my life to Jesus, and it's so much informed by actually before heaven we are to be passive and receive. Before earth we are to pour out and be totally active in that. But we can so often reverse the gospel and get, especially our youth, we get our youth again and again and again to climb the ladder, pray the prayer, do their bit. And it can be a slavery. So check that out if you haven't seen it before. I gave my life to Jesus. And then another thing happened in January was the release of this video on Unbelievable, the podcast with Justin Briley. I think this is the video that's had the most views from anything that I've been involved with this year, largely because of Matt Delahunty's audience.
Sure, big name.
Showed up big time in the comments.
Of course.
I don't know how many comments it's had, but I mean, just check out that thumbnail. I swear I wasn't frozen.
Sinister.
I swear that wasn't.
Yeah.
But it is funny how that kind of tips people into, what they expect from a video. I just want to figure out how many views this thing has had.
I still can't believe that video was this year.
Yeah.
Because to me that feels like such a long time ago.
Oh, it really was. It really was.
Yeah, a crazy length of time. So, how many views? Oh, over 500,000.
Okay, 560,000 views. 15,000 plus comments. So that's
Don't
fun.
read them. Don't read them.
I got some interns to descend into the scuttling underbelly
pit.
of YouTube, and in fact, one thing they came up with was at one stage, I did my listening face was a bit ridiculous, and one of the comments was. Like some guy who I don't think was one of my fans said, at 14 minutes 33 seconds we see Scrivener doing the I'm a jerk head bob.
Yes.
And then if you go to that particular time
Regular
stamp,
viewers of the live cast will be familiar with it now.
the I'm a joke head bob. And then it became such a thing that Apologetic Thug Life did an hour-long video and set it to music.
Adherence to those are reported at the better and
Oh, I hate myself so much. Look at that. I mean, it's totally I'm a jerk, isn't it?
Well,
I'm a jerk. I'm a real big jerk. Look at
it's the little head roll at the end and the closed eyes.
This has like 2,000 views.
I watch it daily.
I'm sure the watch time is not huge, but yeah.
With something like that, though, you've just when people say those kind of things, you've just got to embrace it. You've got to dive in head first and be unashamed of what you've done. So
I'm not sure I can even reenact it. How do I become that smug? I don't know. It was just in the moment. So there were lots of things that I wasn't that proud of in that debate. Like one thing was when Matt Dillahunty raised the one study that he pins all his hopes to on whether atheism can deliver a better world. Yep. And I think I went in a little hard. Let's have a look.
And see, here's where we get to disagreement. It's going to be difficult.
Okay.
Because I don't have access to go.
I just mentioned thousands of studies that talk about the benefits of religion.
Religiosity versus societal health. There's a study that was done years ago that was in the Journal of Religious Education. I'm going to get
2005. Is it Gregory S. Paul?
Yes, Gregory S. Paul.
Yeah.
Which
paleontologist.
shows something.
Snark mode engaged.
So he's a paleontologist who was actually hacked off with creationists. You go to Wikipedia and you find Gregory S. Paul.
But that's all about Gregory S. Paul. I'm talking about his data.
You've been quoting him for 15 years, though.
I know, but I'm quoting his data, not him.
Yeah, but he's one study against thousands of others, and he swims against a tide of literally 89% of the studies show that everything goes in the other direction. He did a univariate analysis about secularity and how it relates.
Anyway, we got into that.
I mean, I do love the fact too that you just go paleontologist. This guy who's done studies on the benefits of religion
that
or
is
not.
Putting it. That is
paleontologist.
But that's putting it like very positively. He's actually an illustrator who's most famous for his drawings of sauropods.
It's where he goes, but that's Gregory S. Paul. It's like we're not talking about. It's like no, it does matter. It's a bit like it's the internet equivalent today, isn't it? Of when people say, oh, here this person has said something about COVID.
Yes.
You go, what are they? They're an animator. Well, that's nothing to. We're not talking about what they do for a job. We're talking about what they've said about COVID. Well, yeah, to be honest, their area of expertise might have
be
some
relevant
bearing on what they're saying.
And so, like, I accuse him in that debate of getting the study wrong, which, he does. So, like, I went back and had a look at all the times that I could find that Matt Dillahunty has quoted from Gregory S. Paul. And it's kind of funny.
There's a really good paper that we've referenced, a gazillion times that Gregory Paul wrote, basically comparing societal health to religiosity and showing a negative correlation between the two. And we've pointed it out many, many times.
I'll recommend Gregory S. Paul's work that was published in the Journal of Religious Studies. We've been talking about it for years.
Nope, that's not what it is.
It would be very easy for each of us to sit here and cite different studies. I can go back to the Journal of Religion and Science study that I've been referencing from Gregory S. Paul for years.
So in our debate, he called it the Journal of Religious Education, and at other times he's called it the Journal of Religious Studies. At other times it's called the Journal of Religion and Science. It's called none of these things,
Right.
because it doesn't matter.
I mean, and in fairness to you, I mean, you'd seen a number of those things before, and I know you said beforehand, I imagine this will come up.
Yeah.
And so you were ready for it. And
Yeah.
fair play. I mean, because you should call out things which are nonsense. I mean, you You may have looked a little bit smug about doing it at the time. I'll be honest,
couldn't believe it.
I mean, it was.
I couldn't believe he was
what you
bringing it
said
out
was
again.
still true.
Yeah.
So
We do have a review video of the debates in which we go through all the things that I'd gotten wrong and wish I'd not done. But, I mean, my constant line on the debate is I had some great moments in the debate. None of them were when I was speaking.
no, you give someone enough rope.
Yeah.
Which we saw with Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah.
Rather shockingly, actually.
Yeah,
in the things
yeah.
he actually said in the end.
Well, I mean, the morning of the debate, I was actually speaking to a whole bunch of Eastbourne older retired women. And it was a room full of 150, probably the average age was 80. And
Can you imagine 150 people in a room now?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Particularly over the age of 80, gathered
yes.
together in one space.
It was a super spreader event. Super spreading the gospel. And so I'm an evangelist. What's my R number? But I then said, at the end of my talk, and I'm up to London to do a debate with Matt Dillahunty, and of course they were all massive fans of Matt Dillahunty.
I'm sure they're all familiar.
The Atheist Experience is kind of number one sub, but actually one woman said, "Oh, we must pray for you now," and she got up and she prayed this very stirring prayer, and so many people say, "Oh, I'll be praying for you all day," and I thought to myself, Matt Dillahunty doesn't have a prayer,
quite literally,
and. My big prayer was that he would dig a pit and fall into it, which is one of the things that the psalmist says, and it's in Proverbs as well, the wicked dig a pit, and then they fall into it. And I think we sort of saw Matt do that at a number of points. And then we saw Justin Brierley he brought up Hitler.
Yeah. It's always nice when someone else does it for you.
He invoked Godwin's rule towards the end of the conversation because it wasn't spicy enough apparently.
No. I think my highlight of the whole thing was mostly Justin's facial expressions through it.
Absolutely brilliant.
His kind of sheer disbelief at some of the things he was hearing.
Should we hear some of the things that Matt Dillahunty was saying? And I think actually, interestingly, they were very well collected together in a video that's on the Thug Life channel. Where they've spliced together, so there's Matt Dillahunty and Michael Spicer, who is the room next door guy,
yes.
the spin doctor who is, advising Donald Trump or Prince Andrew or whoever is having a car crash interview. And the results are hilarious, but it also brings up some of the low points for Matt's argument. Let's have a look.
Analog of all human beings are worthy of provision and protection. All of them. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
All members of the human family, no matter what their achievements, no matter what their attributes, all members of the human family are worthy of all provision and protection.
Yes, I do. Talk! Say something!
I have no idea.
Oh my chuffing days!
That's a problem.
This is awful. You've got to say something. Say anything. Just,
I think human lives have incredible value.
Perfect.
I don't think they have any intrinsic value.
No.
I don't think the universe cares at all about human life. They have value because they have value to us.
Got you. Still not what I'd call playing the sympathy card, though.
What's my
aren't those
financial
people's
well-being?
lives
What's this?
worth something, even if they didn't produce a cure for cancer or great works of art?
Yes!
If somebody sat around and
I
did
get-
nothing but consume, I don't know how you could consider that as adding value. You have to point to something where they're adding value to society.
Is that
Oh,
They have to add value, but they don't have value.
Yeah. When I say that there's no intrinsic value to it, but that I value human life.
Fine, move on.
If well-being is the metric that we're using,
Yeah.
and if Hitler could say, "Oh, we are so much better off without the disabled,"
Where are my notes? Where are my notes?
you have no idea. We're soaring our industry, our numbers are through the roof.
Hang on, I've lost my notes.
Is he right at that point?
At the end of the day, it was the wrong thing to do.
Well, that's when you go through and you talk about what data are you looking at to define well-being. Because,
What data?
yeah.
You're having that conversation.
Get out. Damage limitation.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I think that helpfully highlights the just those moments at the end, because I think that's over an hour into the interview, I think, isn't it, or near the hour mark.
Yeah,
and I think that first hour, you're back and forth on all kinds of different bits and bobs, but it really is in that last section where that comes up, and he does fall. He digs himself a hole, falls into it,
right.
And I think I don't know if it was on a review or bits, so you can almost see when you've asked him some of those questions, or Justin asked questions, you can almost see the cogs turning where he kind of wants to give an answer, but he knows that by giving a certain answer, it's going to be inconsistent with, the things he wants to believe.
Yes.
I think, you've said a number of times, like, when you're not a humanist, you need to hand in your humanist card if you believe these things.
Right.
Whereas you think he wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he knows he's got no real basis for it.
No. Yeah.
And so, I mean, he absolutely, the things that you kind of prayed for, I think it was just put on display, and you didn't have to draw that out. It was just there.
It was there, and Justin had a little go from the side, and I
it wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that. But, no, yeah. I mean, I do now think, like, secular humanist, pick one,
right?
Because I do think unless you are anchored to God the human, and therefore you have a foundation for humans being the ultimate value, then your humanism will just unravel.
No, it's a bit like the Douglas Murray stuff we've seen more recently, where he's saying about people say I'm a rational secular atheist. He's like, no, you're a Christian. You're
a Christian atheist.
Christian atheist. Because even the kind of humanist or whoever it is basically, well, it's Christianity without Christ, isn't it? It's we want all the fruits of the kingdom without the king. And
and I wonder whether, I mean, Douglas Murray, he calls himself a Christian atheist. I think he's more of an Anglican atheist, and I think Matt Dillahunty's more of a Southern Baptist atheist. But I mean, interestingly, how not only his moral foundations are kind of shaped by, that Southern Baptist culture that he grew up in, but also the way he proselytizes, the way he wants to be evangelistic about it. He's far more a Southern Baptist atheist.
Yeah.
And, someone like a Douglas Murray is more like an Anglican atheist, I think.
Fascinating, isn't it?
We got lots of feedback on that video. As I say, there's 15,000 comments, but one letter that was sent in to us, and a guy in the States somewhere, Arizona, I think, he said, I just wanted to say thank you. I've known intuitively that Nietzsche's conclusion about the implications of the removal of God from our worldview, individually and societally, are correct. But your conversation with Matt made it so clear and undeniable that now, a week post-listen, I'm still sorting out the implications. These conversations about whether people can be moral without God are so abstract, and the atheists involved in the conversation are always undeniably good people. But when the conversation turned to elective abortion of babies with Down syndrome, my eyes were opened, not just to the implications of what happens to the weak over time in a society post-God, but to the fact that Matt, a first-generation atheist, had already accepted on principle that the strong decide if the weak are us. I'm not a very emotionally expressive person, but I've been so deeply moved by the tragedy that will ensue, and indeed is occurring, simply because Christ is removed from his proper place in our hearts and minds. It's so clear to me now that Christianity is bigger than personal salvation, and Christ is more than a divine friend to help me in this life. I've never really understood evangelism. I've accepted that it's important, but it's never had any grip outside of what can be accounted for by peer pressure. Now I see, and I don't think I can unsee. I was at the gym this week with my personal trainer, and a young man with Downs was there working out with his own trainer. And I saw a person, a child of God, my brother, living just as I live, with the same desires and motivations to grow and improve and become more than what he is. And I saw that as a society we might decide that his life does not have value, that he might be undeserving of life because he is weak. And I am strong, so I get to keep going to the gym and working to become stronger. I believe this has been a pivotal week in my faith development. Thank you so much for putting yourself in that vulnerable position. I'm sure that what you are doing comes with some great challenges and burdens, but it's making a difference. Thank you, Jay from Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado.
That kind of thing's just really encouraging, isn't it? Because, amidst the sea of what the kind of things you read in response.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who seemingly, he's a Christian.
Yeah.
But is actually... He said there's been a development there, so there's something's moved in him as well, and so often when you read the comments, it seems like there's people on both sides who are not making any movements at all. And I think so it's just really encouraging to read that, isn't it? I mean, I think as well, like what he said there about the strong decide who is us.
Yeah.
That was something that we talked about just the other day, and it won't be out yet, but it'll be over Christmas in some of the Reset episodes, where it only really struck me when we looked back at that interview where you'd, or Justin had said, hadn't he, to Matt, about what if all the people you got rid of, do they have value if they didn't do anything or whatever? And Matt says about, well, you got to ask what you've lost. And he says about, they might have given you a cure for something, or
Produce great art,
whatever. And it hadn't really struck me at that point that, again, what he was saying was, those people only have value if what they produce, I put value on it.
Right.
So it's not that they are valuable.
Yes.
It's if what they produce is valuable. And it's not that even what they produce is valuable. It's only valuable if I deem it to be valuable,
Right.
if the strong deem it to be valuable.
Right.
So they might produce a cure for something and we go, oh, we don't really want it. Right. Actually, we don't think that's the thing,
Right.
unlikely that one, but, a great work of art, and go,
Right.
yeah, we don't think it's that great kind of art. So you're not that valuable.
Yeah.
And again, it's the strong deciding,
Yes. Yeah, by the metric, and so Matt Dillahunty follows Sam Harris in The Moral Landscape, and they're sort of utilitarians basically, and they just want to maximize well-being. You're like, okay, what is well-being, and who decides, and how would you trade off between great art and a cure for cancer? Like, what's that seems like apples and oranges, and that's like, and there are just multiple measurement problems with the whole thing, but those measurement problems are all solved by the strong. They say, I'll tell you what I want in society. I want this, this, and this. And so, I don't know, a guy on the internet the other week, he said, you lost the debate to Matt Dillahunty, and said it in a slightly more snarky way than that. And I said, well, that would be a shame if Matt won, then humanism lost. I do think I'm very happy. I'm not a debater. I'm an evangelist. I shoot my mouth off. And
I think from what I remember, there were people who were humanists who were kind of going, oh, hang on.
Oh, yeah.
In the comments even. So even people who would be technically kind of on the other side from us, at least, let's say, who were still going, oh, I'm not sure I want this.
Right. And so I'm very glad it happened, because I think it put on display that thing. And I think if Matt won, humanism lost. So that was back in January, and then something started to develop in February. Well, it had been going, from the back end of 2019, hence the name COVID-19.
That's not why it's called that. Surely it's not.
It is,
isn't it? Like, isn't the 19 the strain or something?
I thought it was a coronavirus
and surely it's
identification,
not
because
it's not like World Cup 94, is it? It's not like they're calling it.
I don't think it was a COVID-18.
No, like,
this is the thing about doing something.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
We should have practiced. Yeah. Let us know in the comments.
Surely it's not named after the year. Surely.
You don't think? Now that's what I call coronavirus.
Because no, I don't know. I thought it was like something like to do with like
one of us is looking like a real monkey right now. We have no idea which. But.
Dear me.
And I'm about to show you this as an example of how little we knew back in March.
Yeah, okay.
And all I'm proving is how little we know.
Yeah, I've not seen these clips. Glenn has cued these, so I mean, despite the fact I was there, some of these.
You were there, definitely there. You were there, and one of the bits of context for this is: do you remember back in March when apparently touching your face was a massive deal?
Yeah, I do.
Before toilet roll was the massive deal.
Touching your face.
Touching your face will kill everybody you love. That's the context you need to know as you watch this first livecast that we did on the topic.
Today on the livecast, plagues, pestilence and pandemics. What does history have to teach us about the coronavirus?
You do look so much younger then.
I know, it's aged me terribly, this whole ordeal.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the
look a bit
livecast.
younger
My
too.
name's
Remember when we
Glen
had haircuts?
Welcome, my name's Paul Beasley, and we are coming to you from Speak Life Studios.
Not the self-done ones.
Okay, and we are talking about what everybody's talking about, COVID-19. Or is it COVID?
COVID?
That's the,
either or, I guess.
That's the least
Probably the least
of
our
our problems.
concerns, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because 110,000 people infected with coronavirus, or at least confirmed cases. The true number will be many, many times that number.
Likely.
Yes. Likely. And deaths are
was 110,000 worldwide
3,000.
at that point?
I don't know.
You hesitate to give the figures because they're changing all the time.
No, I think it was in the UK.
Okay.
Increasing at the rate at which they are increasing. That's what exponential growth kind of is. And we just wanted to talk today about plagues, pestilence, and pandemics, because we've been here before. And the Church of Jesus Christ has been here before. And we wanted to highlight kind of 7 different aspects of church history and how people have responded to plagues in Christian history. But what is the state of play today, Paul? What are we facing?
So it seems... I'm going to pop these off. Don't really need them at the moment. So, I mean, it seems to be... I didn't touch my face.
Oh, did he? He touched his face.
No, the counter. I forgot about the counter.
It
Face
still
touch
counts.
counter.
Those following along at home, we are trying not to touch our face during this live cast. Because apparently you touch your face 90 times a day, but this is not good for the spread.
Well, apparently not, no.
Yeah.
So apparently you're supposed to limit touching your face. To
You are really miffed about this.
I am distinctly miffed. Yikes. I'm feeling outraged just watching it back.
Okay. We'll try not.
How dare you do that?
It's just...
Yeah.
It's definitely headphones.
Yeah.
I touched my headphones.
If the evidence is there.
Exactly.
People can see for
They're able
themselves.
to see.
I think that was Max Patterson. Intern at that stage, now media producer. Yeah. Getting ahead of himself.
Yeah.
But can you... What were we thinking back in March?
Oh, man. It just, well, as I said to you, as I mentioned earlier, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It feels like another... I just can't really... I just don't remember almost what it was like not living under this kind of cloud, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I think at that stage... I mean, that's early... That's 16th of March, that's before...
It was before 16th, so it was
pre-16th.
Like, yeah.
So, like... We hadn't gone into lockdown.
No.
I think we were probably still in the phase then where we were thinking like, because have we interviewed people like Jackie Lam or that?
No, Jackie Lam was a great interview if people want to check out
later
from Hong Kong. Yeah,
but I just don't think we saw it really coming to our shores in a huge way, did we?
I think at that stage, TV like reporters going into Italian hospitals and ICUs overflowing and morgues having to use churches to store their coffins, that was kind of very much in the public eye.
I'm not sure anyone saw it coming though, because I don't think on the 23rd of March, because it was pretty much, wasn't it? Did they announce it on the Friday before?
Yeah, quite. It was a real U-turn.
Because weren't they going to go for herd immunity?
Herd immunity. Boris goes on to this morning.
Don't they deny that now?
Yeah.
So they weren't going to do that.
It's going to move through the population. Like, you know, we were basically going to have a big chickenpox party and just shield grandma. That was the whole like policy. And then the Imperial College kind of numbers. We're going to, you know, 500,000 are going to die. Neil Ferguson said that, and so turned on a dime.
I just don't think any of us really saw it coming, because it was there just a few days before, and they said, all right, we're going to do this. I don't think any of us was taking it particularly seriously.
Yeah.
At that point.
We made fun of the touching face.
The Wednesday before that, before actual lockdown, we took our children out of school because Becca was pregnant. And there was this kind of like, well, we don't really know if it's a risk or not. You know, they were saying there might be more high risk. And there was only like a week of school left anyway before the end of term. So we thought, well, we'll take the kids out. And then 3 days later, they closed the school anyway. So
yeah. It was.
So we were locking down before it was cool.
You say nobody saw it coming, and yet the scriptures are full of plagues. You know.
Sure.
And that was the point of that live cast. We had a look at 7 lessons from history and 7 different quotes from the church handling pandemic. And
was one of them buy all the loo roll?
Buy all the elbow your way through Sainsbury's.
Get grandma out the way.
Man, wasn't that crazy? And everyone was blaming some mystery phantom hoarder who's out there, while personally buying 5% extra.
Yeah,
like, no, you are the man. Like, you.
What were those loo rolls behind you? Nothing.
Nothing. It's just a little bit extra. That's all it takes. Everybody just needs to take a little bit extra, and there's a run on toilet paper. So, I mean, the Gospel Coalition asked me to sort of narrow it down to 4 lessons from church history. And here's something that I think I got wrong this year. I started that article with this. I said, how did the obscure marginal Jesus movement become the dominant religious force in the Western world in a few centuries? That is the subtitle of Rodney Stark's The Rise of Christianity, a book that explores a number of key factors, one of which is plagues. Indeed, to understand the rise of this obscure marginal Jesus movement, we need to understand its remarkable response to plagues. Here, I'll briefly mention 4 pandemics in history and how the church has responded in the way of Christ. As we note their examples, let's be inspired by their faith, even if we might make some adjustments for our own time and circumstances. Their impulse to move towards the needy, displayed in heroic sacrifice, is entirely Christ-like. We dare not be less sacrificial in the love we seek to embody. At the same time, the wisdom of such moves in our own day, when we may ourselves be carriers of the infection, needs careful thought. As we look to these historic examples, let the Spirit lead us in our application, but let our own spirits be stirred towards faith, hope, and love, and may we, with our own pandemic, live out the wisdom and way of Jesus before a watching world. I think what is interesting, because I think what I was being confronted with as I looked at the historic response of plagues is that Christians were moving towards the needy.
Sure.
In every case. And the messaging from the media in 2020 is lockdown.
Keep away.
Keep away.
Yeah, distance.
Socially
Social distance.
You know, and I still don't really know how to put those two things together. But I do think one of the things is that we've got a chronological snobbery. It's, you know, C.S. Lewis's phrase about how we look down on our forebears and bless them. You know, they didn't know about.
They didn't know better.
Virology.
No.
You know, didn't know about immunology. They didn't. You know, and so bless them. They actually nursed the sick and the dying. Poor benighted fools.
Quaint.
And of course, one of the big differences is we've got a National Health Service to do that, and you know, we did our bit by clapping for them every Thursday night. You know, but that was all the sacrifice that was called for.
Yeah,
from us.
And you know that by about week 6, people were like, "Oh, flipping it's 8 o'clock again." Like,
I know.
Oh, come on. Like,
yeah.
All the goodwill had gone.
I do see number 8's not here. No. Just
I saw her coughing the other day, and she's not been out since.
Oh, okay. I just thought she was lazy. But yeah, and so I think it is interesting how we look back on medieval times and we think those poor benighted fools, they moved towards the needy. They were probably super spreaders in doing it. And you're just like, I don't know. I think they were going the way of Christ and the way of love. And actually, Rodney Stark says in The Rise of Christianity that the church kind of got a better immunity because they moved towards, you know, and those who they moved towards had far higher survival rates because they were being nursed.
They were being looked after.
And so just from population studies, you know, the church was doing better by that tactic. And so I think they're a real challenge to us. So I talk about Dionysius, Bishop of Alexandria. The plague of Cyprian was a lethal pandemic in the 3rd century that, at its height, caused upwards of 5,000 deaths a day in Rome.
Wow.
Imagine it. While the plague severely weakened the Roman Empire, the Christian response to it won admiration and a greater following. Dionysius, Bishop of Alexandria, reported, "Most of our brother Christians showed unbounded love and loyalty, never sparing themselves and thinking only of one another. Heedless of danger, they took charge of the sick, attending to their every need and ministering to them in Christ. And with them departed this life serenely happy, for they were infected by others with the disease, drawing on themselves the sickness of their neighbours and cheerfully accepting their pains. Many, in nursing and curing others, transferred their death to themselves and died in their stead."
Wow.
You know, very Christ-like. And, you know, and yet so much of our heroism is, you know, lying on a couch and watching Netflix.
Yeah, it has been a bit like that, hasn't it?
But these plagues, they are our teachers, and yeah, we've been trying to learn from them throughout the year. And I think where I am, I kind of, my thinking is circled back to where I was back in March. Is that we must never forget that plagues are judgments. They are judgments from a merciful God that we are to learn from, and He will provide a way through. But yeah, I think it's. Going back to the scriptures and seeing how common plagues are in that thinking actually gives to us a dimension of wisdom that I think we've lost in 2020 when we just see it as a virological problem. It's a problem for Pfizer, and Pfizer will sort us out. You know, what if we're being told something? What if there's a lesson to be learned?
Yeah.
Are we learning it? That's the big question. And let's just finish this half of our look back at 2020.
What have you got?
What have I got?
What have you got lined up?
I've got. How about a song? Huh? Should we go out on a song?
Why not? Why not?
So this is one of the cool things to come out of lockdown. I'd written a poem that Phil Moore in Nottingham wrote a beautiful music to, and David Gibson did a wonderful arrangement to. And we just we loved putting this together. And it was one of those things that people did in lockdown, which was sing, and we wanted to sing about Christ. And so we hope that this video blesses you. This song blesses you. We'll have a list of all the videos we've referred to in the comments section in the description box, so you can check them out yourself. But we probably won't see people until Boxing Day.
Yes.
On Boxing Day we have what do we got? Reset.
It's the reset episode. So we've had we will have had a lot of the interviews by then, but then we're actually going to take a deep dive into some of the topics more specifically, aren't we? And there's 7 episodes. 7 episodes. So we're going to be talking about what's missing, what's morality, and what is meaningful. That's Boxing Day, isn't it? Yeah. On Boxing Day. And every day between Boxing Day and New Year's Day, we'll be thinking about how to reset. So do stay tuned for that. And then in the new year, we'll do the second half of 2020. But until then, thanks and God bless. And let's have a look at We Have a Land.
With the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd.
He will lead them to springs of living water.
And God will
wipe away.
God will wipe away every tear from their eyes.
And God will wipe away
every tear from their eyes. For mistakes we can't forget, and the sins that still beset. We have a lamb, we have a lamb for our fraught and anxious realm, for the fears that overwhelm. We have a throne, we have a throne. Sing worthy, worthy is the Lamb who was slain for the world. Royal arms unfurled, we sing glory, glory to the your cross, a fountain of life, for our lost and lonely hearts, for our gnarled and tangled paths. We have a shepherd, we have a shepherd. Dry and listless souls, and our thirst for being whole. We have a stream, we have a stream. We sing worthy, worthy is the slain for the world. Royal arms unfurled, we sing glory, glory to the Christ. Your cross, a fountain of life. For regret and ravaged years, for all sweet and bitter tears, we have a Father, we have a Father, for our treks through burning sands, to our home in is